Good evening and welcome to the September 2022 regular council meeting for the Village of Blacks Harbour. I'll call the meeting to order. It is now 6:12 p.m. I'd like to welcome and thank CHCO for being here tonight. Dale Wells is doing the camera, Florence Mitchell is doing the sound, and of course the stars in the very back, Vicky Hogarth in the very back, so she'll probably be doing an interview next week with the mayor. I also like to introduce Eastern Charlotte CAO. Jason Gaudette is here with us tonight. Nice to have you here, Jason. And Trish Vieira from Fundy Life. Nice to have you here tonight too, as well. So great to have an audience tonight. Record of attendance: we have Councillor Wells, Councillor Thompson, and Councillor Ritchie here tonight. At this moment, Council, it was with the heaviest of hearts that we learned of the passing of Canada's longest reigning sovereign, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, on September the 8th. Please join with me in a moment of silence in memory of our Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. I wish to quote this from our Prime Minister. For most Canadians, we have known no other sovereign. Queen Elizabeth II was a constant presence in all our lives. Time and again, Her Majesty marked Canada's modern history. Over the course of 70 years and 23 royal tours, Queen Elizabeth II saw this country from coast to coast to coast and was there for our major historical milestones. She would acclaim it was good to be home when returning to her beloved Canada. She was indeed at home here, and Canadians never ceased to return her affection. Her Majesty vowed to devote her life to the service of the Commonwealth and its people. On behalf of all Canadians, I thank Queen Elizabeth II for honoring this vow and for a lifetime of service. Her Majesty's reign spanned so many decades, a period when we came into our own as a confident, diverse, and forward-looking country. It is her wisdom, compassion, and warmth that we will always remember and cherish. Today, a page was not only has been turned, but a chapter in our shared history was drawn to a close. I know Her Majesty's service to Canada and Canadians will forever remain an important part of our country's history. The coming days will be a period of mourning for Canadians, as it would be for the Commonwealth citizens, ending with a National Day of Mourning when the commemorative service will be held, marking the passing of our sovereign. On behalf of the Government of Canada, I express our heartfelt condolences to the members of the royal family during this difficult time. History was made on September the 10th when the Governor-General, Mary Simon, met with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet to sign an order in council and a proclamation of accession that officially announced the Queen's death and proclaimed King Charles III as Canada's new monarch. And for the first time in our life, long live our King, King Charles III. I'll look to number 3 tonight for business arising. Anything business arising tonight? If not, we'll move to approval of the agenda. And I look for a counselor to give us a motion for approving the agenda tonight.
Be it resolved that the agenda for September 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council be accepted as presented with the addition of item 15.3, village agricultural uses.
We have a motion on the floor by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Ritchie. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Anybody wants to disclose conflict of interest may do so now. And that brings us to number 6, approval of council meeting, council minutes. 6.1 is the regular council meeting of August the 17th, 2022. I'll look for a motion from the floor.
Be it resolved that the minutes from the regular meeting of council on August 17th, 2022, as pre-circulated, be approved and filed.
Councillor Ritchie has made that motion, seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Wells. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. That brings us to number 7, staff reports, and I'll ask Councillor Ritchie tonight if you'd like to give the fire department report.
Yep, so just up on the screen there, we have the fire report for August of 2022. And there was 9 services that were attended to. 1 rubbish grass fire, 2 vehicle accidents, 1 public service first aid, and 1 public service mutual aid, and 4 alarm with no fire, but the detector was activated. So 9 in total. Do you have the comparison as to what it was last year, Stacy?
Yeah.
And in relation to last year, so August 2021, there was 5 incidences. So there's been 4 more the August of this year as to previous last year. So be it resolved that the fire department report for the month of August 2022 be approved and filed.
Councillor Ritchie had made a motion, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on this report? No questions on the fire department report? The only thing I'd like to say on the fire department report, because it seems like a long month, but this past month, the fire department did a fabulous job on the fireworks. Those guys, we have to remember, people, that the fire department is a volunteer outfit, so they volunteered their time for almost 2 days setting up the fireworks here in the community. It's probably one of the biggest fireworks displays that we have ever had in Black Sabbath. Councillor Wells might be able to attest to that. He's been around longer than most of us. It's probably one of the biggest, I think. Probably.
I don't know. I normally don't go.
but it was fabulous, and
No.
but our fire department went above and beyond for that show that night, and I took the time afterwards, went down probably around midnight, I think, and because these guys, we have to remember, when the fireworks are over, they still have a lot of cleanup. They have equipment to put away, so they're well past midnight down at the fire halls. I went down and had talked to them and had a glass of pop with them, and the guys did a great job. And I say guys, there's girls on that farm too, ladies. So I want to thank them for what the job they did. If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's passed unanimously. That brings us to the building inspector's report. I'll go to Councillor Ritchie again.
Yep, so the building inspector report for August 2022 says that there were 6 building permits issued. The month estimated value of $48,591.22. Total permits issued year to date are 21, with an estimated value of $209,139.22. So the current issues this month, current permits issued this month were for a reno, a deck, a roof, a door, and then siding, deck and roof, and then another deck. So be it resolved that the building inspector's report for the month of August 2022 be approved and filed.
We have a motion on the floor by Councillor Ritchie, seconded by Councillor Wells. Question or comment on this report? All those in favor of the report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Public Works report, I'll go to Councillor Wells. Do you have that in front of you, Councillor Wells?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Henderson, are you right there? Can you come up and have a seat right up here? We left a seat for you. You can be.
Want me to sit?
No, we're over here.
Okay.
Yeah, the camera can get you. You're going to be part of the show here tonight. Or the meeting, I guess. I call it a show.
Daily chlorine and flow meter checks are done every day. Filter building and lagoon checks done daily. Lift station checked every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Water tests were done every second Tuesday, and sewer tests are done once a month. They checked and collected trash in bins and around the village daily as needed, and garbage collection every Thursday. Recycling pickup as per calendar on the Wednesdays, and mowing and snipping daily, weather permitting. Scrape, roll, and line the ball field as needed. In the sewer and water, they removed the pipe and covered it near. I don't know how to do that. Removed pipe and covered near Fresh Mart, where an old hydrant was. Worked with Heel and Woody to locate sewer lines on Main Street. At the arena, where they've got the lines all painted and the ice all installed. Some Zamboni doors are installed, and preparation work was done for the opening at the arena. Schedule, so I know, what's the... Schedule Simcoe for arena startup, and that's been done. Manholes were installed on Main Street. Repairs to lawns from Keel Construction work. Track list, they had to order an alternator. Garbage truck went to Coast Tires for 2 new tires. And miscellaneous, they installed the basketball net at Black's Harbour School, repaired a ramp at public washrooms in the park, prep equipment and arena yard for Touch a Truck, and prep for Fog Festival.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Wells. Councilor Wells, make a motion.
Be it resolved that the building is, no, we got the wrong one. Be it resolved that the Public Works report for the month of August 2022 be approved and filed.
Thank you, Councilor Wells. Seconded by Councilor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion?
Your worship, your microphone is turned off.
There you go. Sorry about that. Question or comment on the motion, Councilor?
I was just gonna say, like, Public Works did a fantastic job at our Fog Festival. Garbages were clean constantly all throughout the day. There was never an overflow of anything. They did a great job.
Maybe I'll go to Stacy on this before we leave. The manhole, they put quite a few extra ones in. Can you explain a little bit the reasoning for that and for the community to know that? I know it was a lot of work and a lot of money spent out there, so maybe you can explain that.
We're actually continuing with that. We have a project that starts next Monday. It's sanitary sewer renewals. We put the manholes in so that we could access the sanitary sewer lines that were there currently, and some of them we had limited access to, so it's definitely improved our service for that. So that'll be continuing, and if anyone has any issues with the project next week, give us a call and we can address it, and going forward it'll hopefully make our services will make them a little bit better.
Really awesome. I know it's a lot of work and a lot of stuff being dug up, and it'll make it a lot better for the residents here in the harbor. So. Okay. If any other questions or comments on the motion, if not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. That brings us to the CAO's report, and that goes to Mrs. Frost.
So we had our funding announcement at the Patrick Connors Recreational Complex. That went really well. We had some local dignitaries, including our worship Mayor Craig. It was a good time. And we actually had a completion of our audit. It was successful. We had a surplus this year. We've got ongoing keeping negotiations. We're doing some grant applications for some upcoming projects, which include things with the arena, some trails, and some infrastructure. I've been meeting with Jason and Greg Lutz for some planning for the upcoming entity, Eastern Charlotte. We've been in contact and ongoing contact with CBCL. We're looking at assessing our needs and our wish lists over the next little bit and coming up with some tender packages for the projects that we want to work on. We're also working on our water project upcoming. That's with On Globe Engineering. They're working with us to source a new water source. Glenn Hawkins from CDEC has been working with us for some property development projects that we're working on coming up. We've had discussions with the ECW and RDC about some upcoming projects as well. And we're working on, tonight we're starting this, getting our development incentives bylaw in place, and we're working on some strategic planning. And we actually need to meet together to get together with our gas tax funding allocations and get those all underway. FCM asset management, I just actually got back from a conference in PEI for asset management. It was through AIM Network, and learned a lot and hope to share that with everyone going forward. And we're working on some Eastern Charlotte projects and collaborations. Last night we had a meeting with all of the local LSDs and myself and Jason and our transition coordinator with some planning for that, working on some budget items for that. And that's about it.
Excellent. What I'll do at this point, I'll look for a motion for the floor.
Be it resolved, the CAO's report for the month of August 2022 and to date for September 2022 be approved and filed.
Councilor Thompson made that report. Okay. Councilor Ritchie seconded it. Okay. Question or comment on that report? A lot of stuff in that report for a month. No questions or comments.
Yeah, no, actually, thanks Stacy for the good update, and obviously there's a lot going on, and the transition happening later this year, we still have a lot of priorities that we want to try to get over the finish line. So just want to recognize all the hard work, not only you, everybody, all the staff has been putting in over the last number of months. Keep up the good work.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, that's passed unanimously. That moves us to the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission, and Alex, would you like, Mr. Henderson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So, just as an update on planning, there is a regional housing symposium being held in the next couple of weeks, so September 29th at Dominion Hill. So, councillors and CEO would be encouraged to think about sending a representative or attending yourself. It's about bringing together stakeholders in the housing industry, as well as municipalities, planners, nonprofits, in order to learn from each other and work to overcome some of the challenges when it comes to bringing housing supply online. We just generally supported Stacy with some of the bylaw development and some of the things that are going to be brought forward tonight. And another one which was related to rural plan. There's the amendment dealing with the keeping of chickens, which has been brought back to council's agenda. There was an amendment done in previous under previous administration, but there was a bit of an issue with how it was done, and so we're bringing it back in a format that should work and would be compatible with your current rural plan. So that will be something I think which council will have to deal with at additional meetings as well. So
We did put reading
it's
one
going to go on
tonight,
to this agenda. Okay, that's great. So we can talk about that tonight. Just in terms of general development, just so far this year, we've reviewed 23 applications for building or development, and reviewed them for and approved for zoning compliance, and worked with the building inspector who's issued those. So it's nearly $250,000 of construction. In this report period, there's been no new subdivisions approved. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I always call you Councilor.
I'm sitting here, so no.
Mr. Henderson. Okay, I'll look for a motion from the floor.
Be it resolved, the planning and development report and zoning reviews, be approved and filed.
Councilor Thompson, second by Councilor Ritchie. Question or comment? Mr. Henderson is still here. If you got any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, that's passed unanimously. I'm going to ask Mr. Henderson just to stay for a bit longer. 8 is accounts, 8.1 is the budget figure, so look for a motion from the floor. Not all at once.
Be it resolved, council approve the budget figures for the period ending August 31st, 2022.
Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Ritchie. Councilor Ritchie, thank you. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Accounts payable. Now look for a motion from the floor.
Be it resolved that council approve the total of accounts payable, paid, and/or payable for the month of August 2022 in the amount of $194,887.51, and payables to date for the month of September 2022 in the amount of $36,321.62.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Ritchie, seconded by Councilor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and it's passed unanimously. Reading of petitions, presentations, proclamations, there are none tonight. Communications, we do have some communications tonight. Number one is from St. John Wing RCAF. Dear Mayor Craig, thank you thank you for joining us on Wednesday, August 24th, when we announced a 1-acre Air Force Memorial and Culture Park at Penfield Ridge. The park will be dedicated in May 2024, the centennial of the Royal Canadian Air Force. We were gifted 1 acre of the former RCAF station Penfield Ridge by Acadian Seaplans. We're now beginning our fundraising campaign and ask if the village of Blacks Harbour would make a contribution towards our $259,000 project. A detailed project description is attached. The project, but it will be your Charlotte County Park, will not only memorialize all the men who died during the service at the Air Base in Penfield, but your park will contain several interpretive plaques telling the story of the people businesses, and organizations of Charlotte County, including your community. We will be happy to meet with you and your council to review our project and answer any questions you have. And that comes from Harold E. Wright and Greg Boudreau. That's from the 250 St. John Wing of the Royal Canadian Air Force Incorporated. I would suggest with that correspondence tonight okay, you have that, I guess you have it in front of you to
So I'll make
defer.
a motion, I guess, if you want. Be it resolved, the council defer the request to Finance Committee.
Great, we have a motion for Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Ritchie. Question or comment on the motion to send this to the Finance Committee? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
And it's passed unanimously. Blacks Harbour School right here. Dear Blacks Harbour Village Council, our school is in need of quality tables and flexible seating to optimize learning. We greatly need these items to improve student engagement and give the Blacks Harbour School students the learning environment that is equal to those in other New Brunswick communities. The Masonic Lodge St. George, number 12, was approached by the Blacks Harbour School to host a fundraiser for the Blacks Harbour School. On Wednesday, September the 7th, 2022, at the monthly Masonic meeting, the request was approved to prepare and host the dinner. For the school to fully profit from this dinner, we're asking the Village of Blacks Harbour to partner with us by purchasing the food. We will be serving a roast beef dinner with all the fixing and dessert. The estimated cost of the raw food is $500. We have not yet set a concrete date on the event, but it is anticipated to take place in October of 2022. We are seeking funds for quality tables and flexible seating. Our goal is to build a safe, engaging environment for our young students. Ergonomics of classroom furniture can greatly affect concentration levels and skill development. We have a shortage of furniture and struggle to accommodate students. The furniture we do have is outdated and ineffective, as traditional teaching methods have been replaced with research-based strategies that meet diverse student needs academically, emotionally, and physically. And that comes kindest regards from the Blacks Harbour School K-2 team, and the names are right there. Council.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request and pay the $500 in full as a donation.
Councillor Thompson's made a motion. Councillor Wells is making the seconder. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it's passed unanimously. Okay, that's all I have for correspondence, right? Approval, business arising from minutes, unfinished business, new business motions. That brings us up to consideration of bylaws. This is where I asked Mr. Henderson to stay a little longer tonight. 15.1 is the development incentives. A is to give first reading to bylaw 2201, whereas council desires to enact a bylaw to increase the future economic and residential development in the village of Blacks Harbour. Before I ask for a motion, I'm going to ask Mr. Henderson maybe to explain this a little bit better for the public. The council probably knows a lot about it, but maybe you can explain it in a layman's terms for the public.
So thank you, Your Worship. This is a bylaw that's that the CO has drafted with some outside legal advice, as well as some advice with the RSC related to planning, because this does connect a lot with development, and planning is something which is definitely considered in this. This is a type of development incentive bylaw which other communities in the region have adopted, and it's a format which takes some best practices from communities like Miramichi and Moncton when it comes to incentivizing development. So the basic idea here is that if you have development that meets the goals of your rural plan, so the types of things that council really wants to see happen, be it commercial development or housing development, then those things which are you're targeting and encouraging in your planning, you would incentivize the development, and it does so in a way that it protects the village and the future Eastern Charlotte Community Council, which would be able to use this bylaw in this location in the subsequent years after you pass this, until they adopt their own version of it, if that's what they do. But what it would do is, if you had a development that met the development incentive policy in here, met all the goals your rural plan has, then what you could do is set up an agreement that pays the developer a portion of the value that they create on that property. So you don't pay them until that development happens, and the value is proven through the assessed value of the land. So it's not rebating their taxes. You can't do that. But what it is you're not going to be giving them any incentive until it's already a tax-paying property, if that makes any sense. So you're not giving away money that you don't have yet. You'd only be giving a grant after you have a tax-paying property in place already. So that's how you'd protect yourself. And it would have to be done with you'd have to have an actual agreement specifically for this with the developer, with that particular development, if they met all the criteria of your incentive policy. And what's nice about it too is, sometimes with development, developers might want to do something that would require a grant or require some sort of support from the municipality. And instead of negotiating each and every time, this way you have something to point to and say, well, look, if you do this, this is what we will be able to support you with. And it helps them because they'll have a lot more understanding of what they can count on in their budgeting when they're putting together a project. So it's a kind of a win-win in that regard. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Henderson. I'm elevating you higher. Okay, what I'm going to do is entertain a motion from council at this point.
So, be it resolved that council give first reading by title to bylaw 22-01, a bylaw of the municipality of Blacks Harbour Development Incentives.
Okay, this is a motion for the first reading, and that's moved by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Ritchie. And this is a question. At this point, we can have question or comment to Mr. Henderson. If you'd
Sure.
like to do-
Yeah, I have one comment, maybe slash question. So I guess it's important to note that the grant is essentially it's more or less a rebate in a sense on the taxes that would be payable to the village after the property is completed and there's a set amount of guidelines that have been met. Is that fair? So like there would be essentially or is it more or less a rebate that would go back to offset some of the initial investment costs? Really, it's helping with their return on investment essentially, right? To incentivize development in the municipality.
It isn't strictly, and you actually can't rebate taxes by the Local Governance Act. So what it is you're granting for specific things,
Right.
specific criteria. But you're only doing that once they're a tax-paying property.
Right. Yeah.
So you couldn't actually have a program where you say, I'm going to give you 100% of your taxes back. That would be illegal.
Right.
But you can do is you can give them a grant once they're already contributing to the community.
Sure. Okay.
So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the first reading of bylaw 2201, a bylaw of the municipality of Blacks Harbour Development Incentives, signify by saying aye.
All right.
That's passed unanimously. That brings us to the second reading, which is we have to do a second reading, and we can do that tonight. And I'll look from, whereas council desires to enact a bylaw to increase the future economic and residential development in the village of Blacks Harbour. I'll look for a motion from the floor for this second reading tonight.
Be it resolved that council give the second reading by title to bylaw 22-01, a bylaw of the municipality of Blacks Harbour Development Incentives.
Great, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Ritchie for a second reading of bylaw 22-01, seconded by Councillor Wells. Question or comment on this motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
And that's passed unanimously. I declare that as the second reading of bylaw 2201. Now that moves us on to 15.2, property standards. And I'll go to Mr. Henderson, if you could like to give us a quick overview of this.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, this one, I would point to Stacy as well. This is one which village administration has initiated. I didn't have a lot of comments to share on this one, but just generally speaking, a property standards bylaw like this is what you have in place to deal with properties that are, for lack of a better word, when you're dealing with landlords who have rental properties and the rental properties are inadequate and they're improper sanitation or improper maintenance, it may not get to the point of it being a dangerous or unsightly property. And so you know that there can be situations where there's a line there where a building inspector or a bylaw enforcement officer says this is not strictly dangerous or unsightly because there's very specific criteria for that. This gets those properties that really always skirt the line. And so if you can have a situation where like you need to put some pressure on a landlord, usually what's the case, to get their property up to a good standard, you can use this bylaw to do it. And the province has a kind of specific ways to what you actually can regulate in this case. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Mr. Henderson. Okay, at this point, I'll look for motions from the floor.
Be it resolved that council give the first reading by title to bylaw 22-02, minimum maintenance bylaw property standards.
Councillor Ritchie's made that motion, and seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment? Mr. Henderson is still here?
So I guess you had mentioned the rental properties. Is it also, I believe it's also applicable to residential properties as well. Is that fair?
It is. I'm just saying in general, this
Yes.
is kind of the situation
Sure.
you can imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thanks for that clarification.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
And it's passed unanimously. I declare that the first reading of bylaw 22-02, the minimum maintenance bylaw. Now I'm going to go to the second reading. I look for bylaw 2202, and the same bylaw again, but the second reading. And I'll look for a motion for the floor.
Be it resolved that council give the second reading by title to bylaw 22-02, minimum maintenance bylaw property standards.
Councillor Thompson's made that. Councillor Ritchie's going to second that. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the second reading signify by saying aye.
All right.
Contrary, that's passed unanimously. I declare that by law 2202, the second reading declared. That brings us to 15.3, village agriculture uses. Mr. Henderson, I know you touched on it earlier, but you want to expand a little more, or are you chickening?
Thank you, Worship. I will. So this is a bylaw which amends your rural plan bylaw. So this is Z2, so Z22, sorry. So it's a bylaw to amend rural plan bylaw Z2. It's a bylaw that it brings in the amendment, which actually was part of your municipal election, if you recall, back in 2021. While you guys were being elected, there was also a plebiscite at the time whether or not to allow the keeping of chickens in residential areas of the village. And that amendment, or that plebiscite, did pass. It is unusual. We don't usually see zoning amendments go to a plebiscite. In this case, I guess the council felt that it was significant enough to put it to the vote, and it did get enough votes to pass. Now, there was an amendment done later on to implement that. There was some issues with the way it was drafted. Namely, there was licensing provisions and other types of penalty clauses and such, which would not have been compatible with the way the rural plan is right now. There are ways to enforce this. I did not include in the draft here the licensing or penalty clauses, which were in the previous draft. Because the way that this would be administered would just be through enforcement. So this would allow individuals to use their property and have several chickens on their property as what's called a village agricultural use. And there would be conditions related to making sure that they're in enclosed areas and have a separate enclosure, not in the dwelling, and so on. And then it's far away from neighboring properties to deal with potential nuisances related to smells or other types of nuisances that could be potential. And this is to make sure that you're respecting those established residential areas, and you're not allowing the intrusion of significant agricultural operations. I pointed to some of your policy on rural uses. And one of the points of the rural plan is to separate out your big agricultural operations from your village core. So you can have some bigger agricultural operations in the periphery of your village, but in the core, it was not encouraged. This also, though, is something that's very popular, and obviously most people in Blacks Harbour voted for this. It's an innovative and sustainable way to do local food production, so it's compatible with your village rural plan in this regard too, because the rural plan's encouraging innovative forms of residential development. So allowing people to do backyard gardening and farming at a small scale that's compatible with residential areas, it's encouraged. So good thing to do. And the amendment just lays out a couple standards for how you could do this. First things first, it defines what is an appropriate village agriculture use, and that's distinct from general agriculture uses. So we're not talking about a pig barn or a big egg laying facility. And then it defines livestock as being small livestock. So I said in the planning report, there's an opportunity here for council to give a bit of a broad definition, so you don't have to come back every time somebody wants to have a duck instead of a chicken. So it allows for that kind of scale of animals. So small livestock defined by kilograms and so on. So it's not we're not talking about pigs or sheep. We're talking about ducks, chicken, rabbit type of thing. And a maximum of 6 such animals. No male roosters in the village residential areas because they are loud. The animals have to be kept in enclosures during and in an accessory structure during nighttime. That they're 10 meters, 33 feet away from any adjacent dwelling. So you might be on a lot that wouldn't really allow for this. It just might be, you might be too close to all your neighbors to be able to do this in a way that's respecting your neighbors' quality of life. And that if there is an issue related to accumulation of animal waste, then a bylaw enforcement would have a tool to address it. So if somebody wasn't doing this well, then you would have a mechanism to enforce. But it would be a retroactive thing as opposed to putting someone through an onerous licensing regime where they have to pay quite a lot of money to do something like this. So by making it open and easy for people, it's really encouraging it in throughout the village. So that's the concept behind the bylaw. And if there's questions, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Mr. Anderson. At this point, I'll go to council and look for a motion on the floor first.
Be it resolved that council give the first reading by title to bylaw Z.2.2, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z.2, being the rural plan for the village of Blacks Harbour.
Councillor Ritchie's made the motion, seconded by Councillor Wells. Question or comment? Mr. Henderson is here to my left.
Are we going to be doing a second reading tonight?
No.
No.
We haven't had this one actually requires a hearing of objections,
Okay.
which will be at our next meeting, so we'll do second and third.
On the next meeting? Okay.
Do we have to have a motion to declare a meeting for objections?
No, we have it on our next meeting.
Okay, then, so we don't have to have a motion to say it, okay. Okay. Question, Mr. Henderson?
Actually, I would actually suggest you do a resolution to set the date for your next meeting.
That's-
Unless
that's
that is already handled through the agenda
you-
setting.
That's what I thought usually.
Oh, okay.
It is on the agenda, but we can
Okay,
certainly
yeah,
make that resolution.
I would always encourage you to do a separate resolution
Okay.
for it.
That's what I thought. Usually that it is a separate motion.
So do you want to do it now?
Now,
We can do it right now.
We'll do it after, because we're in the middle of a motion right at the moment,
Sure.
so we'll do that next. Any other questions or comments on this motion? If not, all those in favor of the first reading of bylaw Z.2.2, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z.2, being the rural plan for the village of Blacks Harbour, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Now, I'll entertain a motion to set the hearing of objections for October the 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. 7 p.m. So I need a motion for that.
All motion to set the hearing of objections for bylaw amendment bylaw number Z.2 for October 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Okay, we have Councilor Thompson making that motion, seconded by Councilor Ritchie. Great. Question or comment on that motion? If not, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
And that's passed unanimously. Great. Mr. Henderson, thank you very much. You did an awesome job in there.
Thank you.
I know you
Thank
did
you
good.
very much.
Good. Good. That brings us to councilors' concerns. Just a couple of things I'll mention tonight. The Fog Festival 2022, it was truly a community event. Some of the employees that worked that weekend was Frank Richard, Drew Dugan, Neil Lakevold, and Jamie Melanson. They did an awesome job keeping everything going, keeping everything cleaned up. As a community, we are fortunate to have all of them work for us, and we thank them for taking their time away from their family and friends to make the weekend event everything that it became. Our summer students, I think, did Claire was involved with this year?
Very, yeah.
Yeah, Claire she was an immense help, who as a student employee has a very bright future ahead, and whatever she decides to do, we're fortunate to have her, 3 summers?
This is her third summer, yes.
3 summers working for the village. The other employee for our village that never stopped and made sure every detail was attended to was over to my left, Mrs. Hatt over here, and she did an awesome job. She lived and breathed this weekend event and made sure it all worked. I can't thank her enough. And the village of Black Cyber is fortunate to have many great people working for us on a daily basis, including our CEO Stacy Frost and Baby Scott Levitt. And this weekend's what happens when everybody works together. I can only see better things for Black Cyber in its future. Every event went off without a hitch. People were smiling. People were happy to see our community come alive and show off our pride, our charm, and our beauty. And it was a beautiful way to celebrate our 50 years as a village. And I know that we went a little bit over on on the budget, but because we're our 50th anniversary, we wanted to make sure that the anniversary was a special time. So the fireworks display was awesome, and I can't thank the fire department enough for what they did to make that happen. Also want to thank Salt Wind Farms, Keith Building Supplies, Charlotte County Christian Academy, Connors Brothers Limited, Cook Aquaculture, Trivium Packaging, the Kitchen Restaurant, Becky and Rob, or Rob and Becky, way you want to say it, the Fundy Action Committee, Eastern Charlotte Fire Department, Boyd Brothers Home Hardware, and of course our village. This past weekend, I and the other 3 mayors of Charlotte County, St. George, St. Andrews, and St. Stephen attended the 17th anniversary service of remembrance commemorating both Penfield Air Station and Camp Utopia. This service was to remember the members of these installations from the Royal Air Force, the Royal Australian Air Force, the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Royal Navy, civilians, and Camp Utopia officers that gave their lives by accident or disease during that period of time. The majority of these people were in their 20s. I was honored to be chosen to help lay the first wreath of the service to honor Queen Elizabeth II, and this was the first time in my life that I attended a service that we sang "God Save the King." This past month, I attended the Touch a Truck event, which was held at the arena. I think our CEO mentioned this. It was a huge success, and I want to especially thank Lisa Williams with the RCMP and our village staff for organizing this event at the arena here in Black Harbour. I would like to see this event maybe every year, and maybe part of the Fog Fest would be nice too, because it was really a good event. Those who missed it, you missed a good event, because it was kind of neat to get all these trucks and vehicles, and the kids had a good time, and it was a good PR thing for the RCMP too, and all the fire departments and natural resources, and I went down that road to try to name them all, but I'm going to forget.
It was actually a fundraiser that the RCMP was putting on to raise funds for their local breakfast programs.
Excellent. But it was a great time, and it was awesome. I'm glad I was there. Tonight, I wish to send our condolences to the family of Jimmy E. Greenlaw, husband of the late Linda Hubbard Greenlaw, who passed away at the Fundy Nursing Home on August the 17th. Jimmy is survived by his 2 sons, Darren of Penfield and Ryan Greenlaw of St. George. One brother, George Greenlaw, here at Black Harbour. Prior to retirement, Jimmy worked for Connors Brothers in Black Harbour, from where he retired after working many years in the can shop. Jimmy was a member of the Masonic Lodge in St. George for over 40 years and was also a member of the Black Harbour Wesleyan Church. As well, tonight I wish to send condolences to the family of Ellen Jane Stanley of Blacks Harbour, and formerly of Graham and Ann, who passed away on August 22nd, 2022. Born in St. John on June 21st, 1965, she was the daughter of the late Darwin and Elizabeth Layton. I also wish to pass along our deepest sympathies to Delia Pearl on the passing away of her mother, Madeline Comeau, who passed away on September the 5th. Madeline lived and worked here in Blacks Harbour for many years until her retirement, and the last 15 years in Richibucto. Madeline was predeceased by her husband, Yvonne Joseph Comeau, and son, Joseph. I wish to pass along Council's deepest condolences to Kimberly Gaudette and family on the passing away of her sister, Brenda Matheson. Our thoughts go out to her husband, Bedford Matheson, on Brenda's passing this past month. And also, my last thing, I'm going to be presenting this to Councillor Amber Libby and Daniel Levitt on the birth of their daughter, Reese Catherine Levitt, and she was born on the 25th of August, and this I'll be presenting them to Councillor Libby. Councillor Libby is not here tonight because she had a baby. That's why she died. So I'm going to go to Councillor Ritchie.
Yeah, just some quick things. So someone had approached me in the community because they said there's been some break-ins at the Baptist church, just the door being broken in, so nothing has been stolen as far as I know, but the door keeps getting booted in. And so repairs are, needed for that over and over again. So, we obviously have no idea who it is, but if you see something, please report it. And, good reminder to maybe just talk to kids and people around the community, that has consequences for other people. The police have also been around, I see, giving out good behavior tickets to kids, kids wearing bicycle helmets and things. So good initiative to see and just kind of change the dynamic there of the stereotypes surrounding policing in general. That was it for me.
Okay, Councillor Wells, anything tonight?
No, nothing.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, not a whole lot from me. Hope everybody enjoyed their summer. I guess we got a school going back in. Everybody will be busy now for the rest of the rest of the fall season. Excited to get the. I guess I understand the ice has been put in the arena, which is great news, and I think sounds like we have ice times booked for this weekend.
Saturday.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Looking forward to seeing the kids out there skating this season for sure in minor hockey. Just a couple quick things, I guess, on the recreation front. I'm really excited to get some stuff moving along at the arena. Get a lot of announcements, as were mentioned earlier there, with some funding for a new floor for the curling club surface and a number of good initiatives there. So really looking forward to getting that over the finish line here before the end of the year. One other thing, I guess, I'll bring up now. I'd like to put it forward or make a motion that we change the meeting time on our next meeting for October, which is on the 19th. We switch from 6:30 to 7 p.m.
It'll be 7:30 after the.
So it's 7:30 after the 7 o'clock hearing of objections. Yes.
Give it a motion on file.
Yeah.
I would have to look for a seconder for that. This is Councillor Ritchie. Okay, question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have to. Okay, I got 2 ayes. I got 3.
Aye.
Okay, great. It's unanimous. Great. Yeah. You had me hanging there, guys. So that is passed unanimously.
Yeah, no, I don't have any other further comments. Thanks.
Great, excellent. At this point, I go to question period. Is there any questions from the audience tonight? Anything about tonight's meeting? How about online? Is there any questions coming in on the Facebook page? Anybody see anything going on there? I don't mind answering questions. That's what we're here for. Oh, good. That's what Jason's good. Good.
Let's just take a couple minutes of council's time tonight just to bring an update on municipal reform. So with regards to Eastern Charlotte. So we are going through budgets, our very preliminary budget discussions right now for 2023. And we hope to finalize those budgets hopefully by the end of October. As well, you're looking at Eastern Charlotte. We've put together preliminary as well org charts. Everyone's going to be settling into new roles into 2023, much the same, all very busy, of course. We also next Wednesday are having a sort of an info session for Eastern Charlotte for potential candidates that want to come out and run. It's a good time to go and see some ward maps and to as well understand a little bit of the role. I'm sure that most councillors would say that, you know, there's things that they really didn't know before they were elected, and now they're like, wow, it's a lot of time. So going to have staff there that's going to answer some questions, people from Elections New Brunswick's for application forms as well. So things are progressing along. It's going to continue to get busy. You know, both staffs from St. George and Black's Harbour will continue to get together, not only on the administration side, but we'll be hopefully towards the end of the year, the public works as well, getting together and having some discussions too on the year ahead and the years ahead. So just let everybody know too that January the 1st, things don't just snap and they're all going to change. You know, names will still be on trucks, and folks will still be going to their normal desk, and will continue to evolve, which is the word I like to say. Eastern Charlotte will continue to evolve over the next year, especially with the new council coming in and giving the direction to staff. So it's just really an update on Eastern Charlotte. So thank you.
In other words, come January 1st, the roads will be plowed.
That's
and the
correct.
garbage will be picked up.
Yes, and water will still run.
The
Exactly.
water is still right. Thank you very much for coming in, Jason, because I appreciate that. And maybe if you'd like to come every month and give a little quick, that would be awesome. Well, not every month, but the next 2 months. That'd be awesome. That's great. I really appreciate it. No? So, any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion for adjournment tonight.
Be it resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 7:03 p.m.
Councillor Ritchie, and seconded by Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That's good. Great, thank you.